Today we're getting into the latest Tesla tech and EV news, including the Robotaxi expanding to all, more leaks of a more affordable Tesla, Porsche beating Tesla to the punch on wireless charging, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, the new Model Y refresh has been fully out for some time at this point, and it was picked as an overall favorite for 2025 from Edmunds. Edmunds picked the Volkswagen Golf R specifically and said it's a stellar hot hatch with a 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, practical enough for daily use, and it delivers excellent cabin quality and engaging driving dynamics. They also mentioned the Porsche Carrera 911 and then the Tesla Model Y. They say this is notable because it's the most improved car according to the Edmunds team. Ride comfort has drastically improved according to them, interior build quality is much better, and previous issues have largely been solved. This has been my experience as well, but it's great to see this from Edmunds. They also tweeted about this with a video saying, quote, "The new Tesla Model Y is the best car we've driven in 2025. That's definitely high praise for the Model Y there. They also rated the Tesla Model 3 as the top-rated electric car, and this came after they enhanced the range, ride handling, and cabin quality with that refresh. And that actually didn't see a price increase, which was a very big deal for this car. But for the Model 3 performance specifically, Edmunds called out the fact that this is a very high-performance car, but it's also a great city car. They say it's ideal for dense urban traffic, especially in places like Los Angeles, because it has quick acceleration and one-pedal driving, thanks to strong regenerative braking. So stop and go driving is effortless and less tiring. Then of course it has that instant throttle response, which they say transforms overtaking and merging into smooth maneuvers, offering a stark contrast to traditional gas car lag there. Then for ride quality and handling, they specifically say this car is composed and responsive. The one thing they do call out is some quirks for this Model 3, and they don't specifically get into them, but I would guess it's things like the lack of a turn signal stock, which they're actually bringing back to the Model 3 over in China, and probably will make its way back to this car in the United States. Now, when it comes to Tesla's most popular car, the Model Y, over in China, the Model YL, the new spec of this car that's 6-seater, is seeing first deliveries. Owners over in China are celebrating the official arrival of the Model YL. So far, it's getting enthusiastic praise on social media, especially on Weibo. People specifically mention this car's safety features, its practical design, and family-friendly layout, making it particularly popular for people who buy sight unseen. One particular owner said, "For our 2 kids and 2 grandparents, the 6-seater Model Y is perfect. We trust Tesla's safety and intelligent features. We placed a blind order to be among the first." There are also a lot of very passionate owners here, with some having even taken long trips to collect their vehicles from the delivery center. One owner said, quote, "This is my second Tesla. I specifically took the high-speed train to pick it up. The first thing I'll do is take my family and dog on a road trip." Now this car has a ton of features and actually only starts at about $47,000 over in China. That's because prices overall are cheaper there for the Model Y, but also this car didn't come in that much more expensive, even though it includes a ton of features that Tesla has been showing off in various videos, like this new one that showcases the slide-out cup holders in the rear, of course the screen back there, those powered armrests, the trunk which has 4 seat folding buttons, the fact that those seats fold flat and there's still a sub-trunk beneath that, and then they show off the wireless phone charger in the front. That is the first time Tesla has included a cooled wireless phone charger. Lastly, there is leg support for the front seats, which is a feature we're now seeing on the Model Y Performance as well, coming to Europe. So a ton of these things are features we don't even have in the United States yet. Now, speaking of the United States, however, even though these cars seem like they would make a ton of sense, Tesla is going a much different direction and focusing on cheaper, more affordable cars. Some photos showed this car testing out in the wild. Of course, this car is camo wrapped, which at this point makes me think that it's not a Model Y Performance. It's definitely this cheaper, more affordable model, and there are differences that they can't show us on the exterior. The Model YL and Performance have been fully shown in many videos from Tesla China and Berlin respectively, so if they're hiding something here still, it's gotta be a new design that they have not released yet, and according to them and their timing, that's going to be a more affordable version of this car. Now, the reason Tesla is focusing instead on a car like that, instead of the Model YL, is because of the Robotaxi. And the Robotaxi this week is expanding for Tesla, at least access to it in its initial beta form. First, the Tesla Robotaxi app was updated this week and added features like live activity vehicle commands, show ride cancellation notification when app is foregrounded, and then add license plate to the watch live activity. But this app was previously only an early access invite app, but now it has expanded entirely to be fully available where anyone can download it. You can now download this app and join the waitlist for Robotaxi access in the future in the 2 markets that Tesla has them in right now. That's over in Austin, Texas, and then in the Bay Area of California. Now, technically in the Bay Area, it's just a ride-hailing service since that safety monitor has to be in the driver's seat. In any case, I joined this waitlist and I'll actually be in Austin next week. I'm currently on tour playing drums with Jeff Goldblum and the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, and that's one of our stops. So I really hope that maybe I'll get an invite by the time I'm there, and then I can fully experience and take advantage of this Robotaxi network when I'm in Austin. If you are interested in that tour, it's a jazz band and I love playing in it. And here's a list of all the tour dates coming up for us. Austin is one of a few different stops. But back to that Robotaxi app. Tesla officially tweeted saying, Robotaxi app now available to all, download to join waitlist, expanding access soon. And they also shared some photos of the app itself. These showcase that with the app you can see how far the car is, start a ride, edit the trip, lock the car, control climate and music when in the ride, and much more. But what's very interesting here is for now, this is actually iPhone only, and they said Android coming in the future. How long that will be, we really have no idea. Elon might say 2 weeks, but Tesla is always delayed when it comes to software releases of their phone features on Android specifically. So it could be actually a little bit of a wait for those that don't have an iPhone. So yes, it's available to everyone that has an iPhone. Now, when you do sign up with this app, in the terms it specifically says, if your ride is taking place without a safety driver present in the driver's seat, it is being conducted autonomously. That's interesting to hear right there, and it probably is what Tesla is legally required to say, because I think it's pretty much the same system that they are running in the Bay Area and Austin, Texas. The driver is just required to be in the driver's seat over in the Bay Area because of regulatory requirements. However, I would guess that it is being conducted basically the same amount of autonomously in both of these markets. But for now, they have to say if that driver is in the passenger seat, that's autonomous, versus if they're in the driver's seat, that is not. Regardless, one change that Tesla is making for the Robotaxi network is they're allowing more passengers. They now allow 3 passengers per Robotaxi ride, which was up from the previous 2, and you can also bring guests between the ages of 13 and 17 with the consent of their parent or legal guardian. There's also a max weight capacity between all of these passengers of 800 pounds. I think for now that still means that those 3 people have to all sit in the back row of this car, because otherwise, if you're in Austin, Texas, you would be getting in the driver's seat, and they definitely don't want you to be able to touch the wheel right there. And then in the Bay Area, maybe they will be doing that where you can sit in the front, because that would be the passenger seat. Regardless, this app is not just expanding to the US with iPhones, it's also expanding for iOS in Canada, which is interesting. It could indicate that an expansion is coming there soon, or they're just letting people get acquainted with this app ahead of time. And maybe it's helping out the ratings overall because people in Canada are excited to get this app. We are seeing a ton of people sign up for this app very quickly, and then a ton of people actually gaining access, especially if they live in these specific areas, it seems. Sawyer Merritt has tweeted about a bunch of people getting invites very quickly after joining the waitlist there. And as a result, the iOS app is actually topping the charts. For travel specifically, it's #1, and then it seems that for free apps as a whole, at least at the point in time that this screenshot was taken, it was at #6. To me, this actually makes a lot of sense because when you look at travel specifically and the apps that exist there, most people already have the pertinent app. Let's say you use Uber, you already have that app and you're not downloading it again and keeping it charting in the top free apps. But for the Tesla Robotaxi app, it's brand new. So everyone that is interested in this is downloading it and potentially joining the waitlist in specific areas. Over in Austin specifically, the Robotaxi has mainly been operating off of the freeway, and when there's a safety monitor in the car, it's specifically not going to go on the freeway. That's because this car is driving autonomously, and they're not at that point yet. But the Robotaxi service has now extended operations onto public highways in Austin, which is a significant advancement beyond the initial city-only driving testing that they were doing. However, the vehicles they're using so far in these particular tests are unbranded engineering prototypes with a safety monitor in the driver's seat. So it's just like the Bay Area. They're not merely a monitor, it seems they're actually working on this from an engineering perspective at the moment. But this could be a big milestone for Tesla because mastering highway driving is a crucial step going forward. It allows the system to handle high-speed merges, complex interchanges, and smooth lane changes amid fast-moving traffic, which is an essential requirement for scalable end-to-end ride-hailing, which ultimately is their goal. Currently, the highway testing is definitely in an early cautious phase with the driver behind the wheel, but they're using a specialized fleet to validate highway performance before they deploy this wider across the Robotaxi service. Tesla actually specifically tweeted about this, saying, "Safety monitors are only in the driver's seat for trips that involve highway driving, as a self-imposed cautious first step toward expanding to highways." This would be a very big step for the Robotaxi network because it would mean you could take much longer trips, get there much quicker, and they would be beating a ton of other competitors to the punch. Now, speaking of their competitors in this space, Waymo is expanding. The San Jose airport has announced authorization for Waymo's deployment there. Quote, "Rollout will happen in stages, beginning with fully autonomous testing with Waymo employees, followed by a commercial launch for the public later this year." Now, this past week, I was in Phoenix for some shows with Jeff Goldblum and the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, and I took my first Waymo. Yes, it's very surprising that this is the first time I've taken a Waymo. I just haven't gotten around to it or been in the right area at the right time, but it was very cool to experience. The app experience was pretty easy. It picked me up at a very odd location, but then the ride itself was very smooth. It freaked out everybody that I was with, but to me it kind of seemed not too crazy because I use Tesla Full Self-Driving all the time, and I know what this is like. However, it is a lot different to look over to the driver's seat and see nobody there. Even though you watch this happen when you're behind the wheel of a Tesla, it's just different to not be able to take over. Regardless, the ride was very smooth and did a good job and got up to speed very quickly. I at times found it maybe to be a little more aggressive than full self-driving, which was a bit surprising, but then it did drop us off in a very dumb location. A different Waymo was parked in basically the normal drop-off spot for the hotel we were going to, so it pulled around that and took us all the way to the back and to a different parking lot. So there's definitely some learning to be done by Waymo there, and then myself maybe, because maybe I could have told it to stop, but it seemed like the stopping options were more for emergency scenarios. But the friend of mine that ordered his Waymo actually ordered an Uber, and it ended up being a Waymo, which is very interesting to see because Uber is partnering with a bunch of different people here. They've actually just recently announced that they're partnering with AV Ride. Quote, "We're ramping up testing of autonomous vehicles across Dallas and unveiling the co-branded Uber X AV Ride vehicle that will soon be driving riders into the future." Uber has a big advantage here because they can partner with a ton of people. They can especially partner with companies that are doing self-driving but don't necessarily have the infrastructure built for the underlying thing of people actually calling the rides. But at the same time, that's also kind of Tesla's advantage compared to many other competitors. They have vertical integration there. So Uber, of course, is a huge company, and they'll probably be the biggest player in this space for some time because they can partner with a ton of different self-driving providers. And they already have that infrastructure built that people trust for the most part. Over at Tesla, though, they're building both of them at the same time, and it seems like they're doing a pretty decent job of building this app experience. So when you compare a competitive network one-to-one, they will have an advantage in that space, at least it seems. And tons of people are downloading the app right now. Of course, though, they have plenty of catching up to do because there was no safety monitor in the Waymo vehicle I rode in. There was nobody monitoring. But Elon Musk said this week, quote, "The safety monitor is just there for the first few months to be extra safe. Should be no safety driver by end of year." Now, based on videos, it seems like he may be exaggerating a bit, or maybe a little ambitious by saying this, and he's also being very open-ended and broad by using the word should. He's kind of making sure not to promise that this is coming by the end of the year. But hopefully that will come true. That would be a very big milestone for this network as a whole, and it would be something where people are actually believing what's happening. I think for a lot of people that are doubting this even to the smallest degree, they look at Tesla testing this with a safety monitor and just say, oh, so it's not actually a robotaxi. Once there's nobody there, people will start to actually believe this is true, including myself. I'm very much a believer in this system, but of course, skeptical when expectations are being shifted a little bit. In any case, Tesla uses full self-driving all over the place, including at their factories, and they have now started doing the same thing that they do at Fremont and Giga, Texas, over at Berlin. Tesla AI posted saying, quote, "New Teslas drive themselves off the line at Giga Berlin. Autonomously navigating the factory premises, they stop by the on-site supercharger, then park in the outbound lot." This is a pretty big milestone for that factory, and it's impressive to see this at the majority of Tesla's factories. I believe they do this at every factory except Shanghai right now. Now, of course, full self-driving has to do with Tesla's huge vision of an AI future and combining their AI software with the hardware that they can make. And a big part of that is, of course, their Optimus robot. This week, the CEO of Salesforce posted a video of Optimus, and within that video, it seems that the robot actually talks to him. Now, at the We Robot event, Tesla had Optimus robots around, but they were being remotely operated, and there were people talking as the robot. In this case, though, it seems to actually be a legitimate voice. There's plenty of lag involved, and the robot walks very slowly, but it could be a peek at what Tesla is really working on here. Another thing that you notice in this video is that there's an entirely new hand. It looks much more like a human hand than a robot hand, but it doesn't seem like it might actually be functional. While you could look at this as a negative because it's a hand that actually doesn't do anything and it's just a placeholder for this Optimus that is probably demoing more of their talking feature, this could also be a peek at what we'll see with Optimus in the future. It doesn't seem like Tesla would probably make one single version of this robot that's capable of doing absolutely everything. The humanoid robot form, according to them, can have a lot of different applications in the future, basically replacing any physical human tasks, especially repetitive ones. So in the future, there probably could be a lot of tasks that don't even require a specialized hand on Optimus, and that one can be optimized for those things without having to sell the most expensive version of the robot with that updated hand. I think that may be a little bit of a peek at what we'll get in the future with different versions of Optimus that are optimized for different things and come in at different prices given what features it includes. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. Over at Porsche, they're working on something that Tesla and many other automakers are working on, wireless charging of an EV. They claim that they will be the first automaker to offer wireless charging for their EVs. And the electric Cayenne will be the first Porsche that can be ordered with a charging coil on the vehicle, sometime in 2026. Porsche calls this 11 kilowatt charger a one-box solution, meaning aside from the charging pad on the floor that you can see in this photo, there's no need for a separate wall box or control unit. They also claim efficiency of up to 90% here and say this makes a lot of sense for Porsche owners since they charge at home 75% of the time. This will be an optional add-on for this car, and the car itself will actually lower automatically to get close to the charging pad. Personally, I'm very excited to see this because I think wireless charging is going to be an awesome future technology for electric vehicles. It has had a lot of hurdles thus far, one of them especially being efficiency. But in the future, it seems like we could get to a situation where you just park your electric car in a lot of different areas and then it charges up automatically. It seems like that's probably the best possible scenario, and it's what Tesla plans to do with the Robotaxi. In any case, that's all of the latest Tesla, EV, and tech news for today. So in the meantime, if you want to see a breakdown of everything to know before buying a Tesla, after my experience owning 9 of them, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.